another episode of the Tundra podcast. Now, this episode is very special. We have none other than Jaeson Cardiff, CEO of Clean02, a Calgary Based Startup that is a success story that you've likely never heard of, but an incredible one at that. Here to talk about the circular economy, clean tech, and all the good things in between is Mr. Jaeson Cardiff. Jaeson, welcome to the show.
Hey, Eric. Good to see you, man.
Well, let's dig into this. So for those who aren't familiar or haven't heard of Clean02, what's your elevator pitch?
So Clean02 is a company that's focused on the reduction and eventual elimination of carbon emissions from the commercial heating industry. And we do that in a unique way that we convert carbon emissions into a chemical that's used in the soap and detergent industry. So we convert people's waste stream of carbon emissions essentially into products that we use every day.
Okay, so that's very high level. What's actually happening?
Well, natural gas represents a pretty stable and common form of energy that we use to keep our buildings hot during the summer months, and provides us with hot water and comfort. But of course, there's that CO2 component with the use of natural gas. So our technology diverts a portion of the flue gas from these gas-fired appliances into some equipment that we've developed, the CarbonX unit, which you'll see over my shoulder here. And it absorbs the CO2 and converts one chemical into another chemical that we can collect and then use in the blending process for the manufacture of personal care products and cleaning products and detergents. So the analogy that we like to use on a frequent basis is Clean02 is an urban mining company that focuses on reducing carbon emissions.
Okay, so if I'm understanding it correctly, you have a low value input that gets converted into a high value output by taking waste to make all that work.
Correct. Yeah. And then the real cool part about that is that the money that we make, the revenue that we generate from the sale of those goods gets brought back to the customer. So they get their return on their investment in a relatively short period of time.
Okay. And if I understand the actual process, which is patented, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
The process in which that chemical reaction takes place actually produces heat. So you're actually reducing the amount of work that your heating appliances do. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we look at domestic water heating systems as an example, typical process will be we'll bring in cold water from a municipality, and it's cold year round, whether it's summer or winter. The water temperature coming into your building is going to be anywhere from 7 to 10 degrees Celsius, and then you would plug it into your natural gas fired hot water tank, and then their tank would work, providing your building with that hot water that you use for your showers and your dishwashers and your washing machines and taps. So what our technology does is when that appliance is burning natural gas, it's giving off waste heat. So we collect some of that waste heat from that process, pull it into our unit, and then we combine that with the exothermic heat of the chemistry that we use. And then we collect all of that and plug that in upstream of that hot water tank. So instead of a hot water tank having to run from 7 to 10 degrees Celsius and ramped up to 60 to 80, we're able to get it to 20 to 30 degrees Celsius and then bring it to 60 to 80. So you end up reducing your carbon emissions through energy savings because you're not having to burn as much natural gas as you normally would. And then of course there's that direct capture piece that we use to help fund the whole thing, because there's that value to the commodity that we're producing.
I absolutely love this business model because it's almost an arbitrage play, but it's also an efficiency play, and you've got all these different moving parts that connect a really resilient model. How much emissions, and then on top of that, you've got the environmental impact. What are we talking when you install one of these in your boiler room? What would an average, say, a condo building, what would their emissions savings or emission reduction actually look like on average?
With our current model, we're looking at around a 20% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions.
Okay.
Majority of those emissions are gained through energy savings from that heat recovery process, and the balance is through direct capture. We have a new version that we're looking to release, a version 4. Right now we're selling version 3.3s. We're hoping to come out with a major step change with some models that are currently being engineered now in a version 4 for Q1 or Q2 of next year that will hit that 40 to 50% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions.
And when you look at the overall of all the different sources of greenhouse gas emissions in our world, how much does the commercial heating play in that mix?
It varies by country and by region. Canada, it's roughly 20%, maybe a little bit north of 20% in overall emissions that this country produces. It's about 12% in the United States. Globally, it's about 7%.
Okay. So we're talking about a huge source that could essentially be cut in half if your new developments come to fruition. Right?
Absolutely.
That's not small. That's not just a little like, hey, we're doing better. That's a big chunk.
It's funny you should say that, because that's something that we have to come up against on a regular basis, and we're often compared to some of the great companies out there like Carbon Upcycling Technologies and Carbon Engineering and Svante, and they're doing some amazing works in terms of large scale capture process. And then then there's Clino2, where a single unit will do, let's say 8 tons of carbon capture per year. And that's pretty small in compared to what the other carbon capture companies are doing. But what's interesting about what we're doing is, one, we're creating a tangible product that everybody can participate in, so they can feel actively involved in helping reduce emissions and be part of that circular economy. 2, we provide that curb appeal to engage people in discussing things around energy literacy, circular economy, environmental impact. And 2, it's kind of an unanswered problem, right? We tend to look at carbon capture from single point sources of emissions, and those are important, but so too are the aggregated sources of GHGs. So yeah, one boiler on a global scale isn't really contributing that much to the overall impact. But when you have millions of boilers all creating these little micro sources of greenhouse gas emissions, and will continue to do so for many decades, well, then that becomes a big problem. And that's where our solution is a really good fit, because we can address those micro scale points of greenhouse gas emissions with this technology.
Very, very cool. So, and it sounds like you've gotten to a point where not only this isn't a concept, this isn't something that you're still prototyping and one day it'll be ready. You're in market.
Yeah, no, we're out in the world. We've got projects here, units installed in Calgary. We've got units in Vancouver and Victoria. We've got units in Japan, units in the US that are in various stages of installation. We're certified. We've gone through the gauntlet of getting registered as a listed appliance, a commercially available listed appliance. So you're right. We're not a bench scale. We haven't been bench scale or pilot scale for quite a while. So there's still some people that obviously want to try our technology before diving into the deep end of our pool, but we're quite confident that experience is going to be very positive, because it's tested independently and internally. Our technology is tested and has been out in the market. I think the longest running unit out in the field today, I think, is 4 years. So we've got data to support all of our activities.
And where are all these units made?
They're all made here in Calgary. Yeah, every unit today is made here. We use local manufacturing agents. We work with Allied Metal here in Calgary. They do all of our powder coating, laser cutting, and metal breaking, and then we do all the assembly ourselves here in Calgary, and deploy them from there. The goal, though, ultimately, because we have to take into logistics into account from the carbon capture perspective. It's a Calgary-based company. It's founded in Calgary. It's a Calgary success story, but we'll likely be exporting that technology for manufacturing and assembly on a regional basis. So we won't be always making units here and then shipping them to Japan and Australia and
Mhm.
US. We want to help support other local economies as well by creating job growth opportunities, supporting local trades, and giving various HVAC contractors an insight of what the future of their industry looks like by being a part of installing these pieces of equipment all over the world. So, yeah, but right now it's a Calgary success story. We're very proud of that.
Absolutely. And your primary market is commercial buildings, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So we're looking at like we're installing in places like rec centers, assisted living facilities, condos, malls, school district buildings. That's sort of the scale that we're looking at. But I mean, ultimately, you could scale this technology to anything that burns natural gas. If you're using natural gas as an energy source, our technology could complement that by providing that extra value.
So every area you just listed off was drastically affected by the COVID shutdowns. And so I can picture happy-go-lucky Clean O2 pre-COVID. Walk me through what that looked like when your primary customer essentially was bye-bye for a little while there. What was that like, and walk us through that?
Yeah, so it was very challenging because we couldn't. I mean, we couldn't travel anymore. We couldn't get out to these places where we were operating to carry on with our installation process because everything was shut down. We couldn't get into, some mechanic rooms. A lot of them, the systems that were already deployed, we could get access to. Because we're tied to HVAC, it is considered an essential service. So we were allowed to maintain our current systems that we had out in the field. But we weren't allowed to look at any new installs until COVID had kind of come to rest. But it got kind of weird. Just before the pandemic hit, we had just pivoted into the soap and detergent industry. We had a little bit of an issue with our business model in that we were putting in a low grade chemical and coming out with a high grade chemical that we thought we could sell, but nobody was buying it. So we're like, oh yeah, well that's obviously a problem. So what do we do with it? Well, let's make some soap and tell some stories with soap, because that seems to be a really cool way to get that message across. It wasn't meant to be a business model, part of our business model. It was just a marketing tool. And my wife and I made some out of our home. We wanted to emulate, that the Fight Club with Ed Norton, holding up the Fight Club bar soap. But we thought, well, maybe there's probably a copyright infringement going on there. So we'll just do a bar of soap, with a logo embedded in it. And we'll share it with a few people in our network. I think the first batches of soap went out to our friends at Fortis BC, and they loved the idea. And then we started telling our friends at ATCO, and everybody just seemed to really, then they started ordering it. We went from 10 bars to 20 bars to 100 to 500 to 1,000 to our operations here now are slowly inching towards being able to do 100,000 units of soap per month.
Wow.
So
and you brought that in-house?
Yeah, we brought half of it in-house. All of the body bars, all of the personal care body bars that we produce are all made in-house. We're very fortunate to connected with a lady by the name of Michelle Regal, who's our director of innovation and product development. So she tailors some amazing recipes to create these body bars that are available in Canadian Tire and soon to be available in Safeway and Sobeys.
Shout out to Spearmint and Clay, my favorite. I bought one at the Canadian Tire, and honestly, I gotta need a hookup. Like, they're amazing.
I think we can hook you up. We may have a few kicking around here that we can probably send your way.
Fantastic.
Don't tell anybody though.
I won't. So you basically went from manufacturing complex carbon capture technologies to manufacturing soap in under a few years.
Yeah, it was bizarre. It was such a bizarre pivot. It was like, Well, it's too, we have like a bit of an identity crisis when people ask, what is Clean O2? Like, are you a soap company? Are you a HVAC company? Are you a carbon capture company? And the answer is yes. Yeah, we're all of those things.
So
So
how do you, as an entrepreneur, when you're forced to pivot and you've got all these different initiatives that you're spearheading, how do you remain focused at the task at hand when you've got a business model with so many moving parts?
I think it's key for any innovator to spend more time listening than talking. You know, when you're trying to get an idea across or you're trying to bring something to market, it's really important that you listen and pay attention to what's going on around you. I've met a number of people in this space that, you know, their mouth gets ahead of them, I think, more than they're aware, and they end up missing opportunities. So listening is a skill, and being able to pay attention to what other people are saying, and taking advice, checking your ego at the door, and openly recognizing when you're not, you've made mistakes, or when something isn't working. Yeah, I think you just got to pay attention. You really need to pay attention, and be willing to adjust your idea to make it work. Don't be so, you know, headstrong that it's your way or the highway, because that's,
Mhm.
that may work in some cases, but I think you'll probably find that it'll probably hurt you more if you're not willing to bend a little bit to make something work.
Adaptability is so crucial, especially in a day and age where on any given day, the environment can change, the market can change, conditions are up or down, we're open, we're closed. So I feel like adaptability is such a key pillar, and you've proven to be adaptable. You know, when one door shuts closed, another one opens. What would you say has gotten you to the point that you're at now? And this isn't an overnight success. You've been at this for 15 years. What would you say is the core attribute that allowed you to get to this day today?
Two things. Persistence definitely comes in handy. That's a good, I think a good habit is to be persistent in your activities. And the other thing is to recognize you're not going to do it all yourself. So know how to find talent, know how to find people that are more talented than you in whatever area you lack. And I think that's probably almost more important than persistence, is finding the right people to do all of the things that you are not proficient at or you're not skilled at. And I can't, I've said it many times before, I'm very, very proud of the people that I'm associated with here at Clean O2, and the connections that I've made along the way, even outside of Clean O2, and the partnerships with the folks at FortisBC and ATCO and Centerpoint Energy, and a few other utilities out there, and investors that we've met along the way. Some I've become friends with. Like, it's just, it's cool. I always go back to that saying, you know, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with friends. So that's certainly the motto that we've sort of adapted here.
So when you say investors, how did you start? When did you sell your first share? And what was that like?
Yeah, that was a very challenging thing to figure out. First of all, you have to figure out what your company's worth. And if I've learned anything, it's, I don't know, company valuations at seed stage, it's more like voodoo than it is about, you know, actual formula to determine what your company is worth. I never really got a clear answer how to come up with a correct valuation at an early stage. And the default mechanism for most startups that I've seen, and I'm guilty of it too, is you overvalue your company. So your first pitches are like, oh, my company's, you know, worth 10, 20 million dollars. And you have to say that with a straight face, right? You have to, you don't, you know, you're not so sure yourself, but you got to say it with a straight face. And then, you know, your investors look at you like you're nuts. Like, why would you, that valuation is stupid. Why would you, they don't take you seriously because you've overvalued your company, and then you miss an opportunity because you've lost them with an overvalued company that's not worth a fraction of what you've said that it's worth. And then there's the other way where you undervalue your company. So it's during the early days, the act of raising money is a lot of salesmanship and a lot of trying to get the people that you're talking to see what you see. They need to see clearly what it is that you're chasing. And you have to do it quickly because you don't have a lot of time with them, right? These are busy people, and if they have money to invest, that means that 100 other people are standing behind you wanting to pitch them. So you need to be able to grab their attention very quickly. And I struggled with that because, the idea of microscale carbon capture was a tough sell, I think, for a lot of people. And it wasn't until we broke into the soap and detergent market that's when those attitudes changed, because they saw the opportunity as a potential investment point. So yeah, it's a skill. Learning how to pitch and how to close investment is a skill. And once again, I've been fortunate to surround myself with people that have helped me with that. I couldn't have done it on my own. So yeah.
So it sounds like you did some friends and family to start with. Walk me through the progression of the rounds that you've done and how it differed and what you learned along the way.
Yeah, so it starts off with friends and family. But there's two types of investment. There's your founder investment piece. So you're giving up shares in your company because you want them to be partners. You want them to be engaged. You want to make sure that they're getting something out of it that's equally valuable to what you're trying to accomplish. So you end up giving away that portion of your shares for your company. And then there's the cash component. And you say, okay, well, what is my company worth? Is it 2 million? Is it 5 million? Is it 10 million? Whatever you can sell somebody on. Then you go through your friends and family round, and it's usually pretty informal. During the early days, your friends and family is more based on a handshake between you and the person, and then you sign over the shares, and then you carry on. And then as that number grows, as the amount of money that you ask for increases, things get more official. You need to get proper legal representation. You need to go through proper due diligence. You need to learn how to build a data room so that you can have everything from your CV to your cap table to your financial pro forma, to technologies, to patents, to any type of material that's related to your company. You have to have that, learn how to put that into the correct format in an online room. In the world, everything's online now. So we had to retool that. We're still retooling some of our online stuff that we have for future rounds. Then from there, then you move into the angel investors, and then you meet the local investment community that has expressed interest, and we've had some great investors along the way that were angel investors. Tundra being one of them. It's been a fabulous investor. You yourself have been an amazing investor and contributor to our story. And then things get more serious. You sort of climb up that tree a little bit farther, and you start dealing with venture capitalists, and they're a different breed. That's a whole different breed. And there are good venture capitalists and there are bad venture capitalists, and you learn very quickly the difference between the two. And we've had some experiences with some VCs that were not favorable. We've had VCs that were favorable, but the terms weren't great. And then we've had the last one that we got was a venture capital company out of California that were they were everything. And I think that's one thing that you have to address, is to not let desperation overcome your strategy in aligning yourself with the venture capital. Because if the venture capital company that you are aligning yourself with doesn't have the same ethos, the same sort of mentality that you have about what your company represents, you'll kill your company, because you'll get torn apart by two organizations that are pulling it in two different directions. So we were very fortunate with these folks out of California that they're spot on with what we believe in. They're spot on with where we think we see this going, both from a technology as well as from a retail opportunity standpoint, a branding opportunity. But it took a hell of a run to get there. You had to go through a lot of VC companies that either didn't get it or liked it, but their ask was too high, or any number of reasons. That's where it gets difficult. And I know of people that have had to sign off on deals because, you know, at the end of the day, you got a mortgage to pay, you gotta, you know, you gotta eat. So you end up doing deals that you're not necessarily proud of to live to fight another day. And I hope those companies can find a way around that. But we've been fortunate. We haven't painted ourselves into a corner. So yeah.
It's when you're a rare bird, you try to find the other rare bird. And it sounds like you've done that, which is great. So right now you're all cashed up. What's next?
Yeah, we are fairly confident, given our sales projections, that we're likely going to be cash flow positive by the end of this year, which feels really good. And then we're going to start exploring these other opportunities in agriculture, larger scale applications for carbon capture. You know, looking forward for the heating industry, we've got a really strong feeling that the hydrogen economy is going to continue to evolve and play a significant role in the heating industry specifically. So we want to be a part of that. Yes, probably next year we'll probably do a larger Series A for Clean02, and continue to take on new opportunities around the world. We're talking to folks in multiple countries in Europe. We've got a number of conversations in the Asian market, and like I said, we're in Japan currently. Australia, I think, is a great opportunity. They use a lot of natural gas. Russia uses a tremendous amount of natural gas. We'll have to, I don't know what that looks like, but we have some opportunities in Kazakhstan that I think we might be entertaining just because of their natural gas usage. The US, from a retail standpoint, I think is going to be a beast, just because they're, you know, the entire population of Canada equals roughly the population of California. So I think that having a Canadian presence in the US from a carbon capture perspective, I think is pretty cool. Yeah, so I think it's more of everything. I think is kind of what we have in anticipation for next year.
Fantastic. And what sort of scents of soap are we playing with? Because, I mean, you've been knocking them out of the park, and I want to know what's coming down the pipe.
Yeah, yeah, I can't really relay that here, but I can say there's really cool stuff coming down the line in terms of for some scrubs. Some Christmas scents that we're coming out with. We're getting prepped up for the Christmas season. We've got some really cool, amazing opportunities with some folks out east for some car wash and detailing opportunities in the Ontario market. I'm chomping at the bit to be able to talk about that, but I can't because I get slapped when I talk too much about it, so I'm not going to. Okay. Yeah, I think we've got actually really cool coffee oil that we're experimenting. That's the other thing is adopting the circular economy component, in that it's not just about recycling and putting carbon into the circular economy, but we're finding all of these really cool waste products that we're throwing out that still have like vital nutrients in them from the soap and detergent, like seed oil. Coffee bean oil, the coffee grounds that we throw out can be pressed, and we can take that oil, and the oil in the coffee beans has the same components as palm oil. But nobody likes palm oil. We don't use any palm oil in our products. So, but there's the properties of palm oil which are really attractive from a soap making perspective. So if we can do that with this waste stream of oil from coffee beans, I mean, how cool is that?
Maybe even some exfoliant with the coffee grinds itself.
Yeah, yeah, that's the scrub part. Yeah, so yeah, we're working on a couple of prototypes. Michelle's doing a great job of coming out with some really cool stuff, some new scents. We're also open to exploring scent ideas. If anybody's listening to your podcast has some scent idea that they'd love to see, bacon and hickory or something.
Pickle and honey.
Yeah, something, right? Just yeah, we'll give it a try.
Doritos did that, and they had some great. I can't remember what the winning flavor was, but it's something you would never have thought of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're open. We love input from our customers and from the public. What does the public want us to go with the scent portfolio?
So all of these products are available where?
So right now, Canadian Tire on Southland and McLeod Trail, but probably in another month we're going to be in, half, if not three-quarters of the Canadian Tires in Calgary and surrounding areas. We're also available in Nutters, in Medicine Hat. A lot of the Safeway and Sobeys stores have picked this up. I think that's one of the things that we find that's really remarkable is the success rate in terms of being able to close deals for getting our stuff on the shelf. So it's a lot of retail opportunities. You'll see it all on our website here in the next little while.
And you can buy it directly online for someone who might be out of town?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can go on our website. We've got a flat pack option, so there's no shipping charges for anywhere in Canada. We have a really cool mailer that we've come out with. I've got one here. So it's a flat pack mailer.
Oh.
It comes in a 4 and a 6 pack, and you can get any scent profile that we have on our website, and we ship that out to you, all hand wrapped and made, sent out. It's been really good. That was one of the issues we had with shipping. Shipping costs in this country were kind of silly. So I think the solution we have with Canada Post, I think will definitely help us with that.
Fantastic. So Jason, if anyone wants to reach out to you with some ideas or learn more about your company, how can they get in touch?
You either just send it to soap@cleano2.ca, or you can email me directly at jason@cleano2.ca. Now, I will say my inbox is ridiculous. So if you send me an email and I don't reply, don't take it personally. I'm just like hundreds. Well, not as bad as your inbox. I've seen your inbox. It's nowhere near as bad as yours.
Mine's bad.
It's really bad. Yeah, I'm not there yet, but I'm well on my way. So anyways, if somebody sends me an email, they don't get a reply, just be patient. Send me another one if I don't answer within a week or so, and I'm glad to answer back. But soap@cleano2.ca is a group email, so if I don't respond, one of the other team members will get back to you.
Fantastic. Well, Jason, thank you so much for sharing your story. I believe this is such an incredible story that does need to be showcased, because it is happening right here in Calgary and Alberta. In being the inventor and the innovator that you are, and exporting that to the world is exactly what we need to be doing more of. So thank you to you, your team, and everyone involved that's made this project a thing. And I wish you nothing but success in the future. And for everyone who's watching, thank you so much for tuning in. Any last closing words?
Nope, got nothing. Buy soap.
Buy soap. I love it. All right, Jason, thanks so much. And we will see everyone on the next episode.